Okay, well, the only thing that this market reminds me of is that dialogue which says, "Picture abhi baki hai mere dost," because it doesn't look like it's ending anytime soon. The Nifty is now down over 100 points and it's a very sharp slide. So let's do one thing. Let's take a bit of a breather from, tracking the markets minute by minute and get you some updates on what's happening with corporates. Maruti Suzuki's parent company, Suzuki Motors, raised stake in the company. They picked up 300 crore rupees worth of shares from the open market and this got the stock a bit active. Of course, today the stock is under pressure, as is the market mood. But to discuss all of this and more, we're joined by Shashank Srivastava, who is the Senior Executive Director, Marketing and Sales at Maruti Suzuki. Mr. Srivastava, good morning and always great to have you on the channel. First on Suzuki hiking stake in Maruti. This is the second stake hike in the last 3 years. So just wanted to understand, it's clearly a positive move, but what prompted them to do so? And is there any indication of a further stake hike from their end anytime soon?
Sonia, this is a transaction done by our parent organization, Suzuki Motor Corporation. And actually, I do not know the details of these transactions. I may not be the best person to have a discussion on this topic. I really handle marketing and sales for Maruti Suzuki.
No, I do understand that, but I guess you're in a better place than us to give us, a little more details on it. So before we close this topic, is there any conversation about what target Suzuki would want to achieve in terms of a stake in Maruti, perhaps over the next 5 years? Anything that you can share with us?
Actually, no, I have no real details to share. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, got it. Let's talk a little bit about sales then. Post the sales in February, you had indicated that March production is likely to be lower than Feb. Is this issue, this production issue, is it something that's specific to Maruti? And when do you see a lot of these issues getting resolved, the supply side challenges, production, etc.? What do the next couple of months look like?
Yeah, so as we had announced when we had the discussion on the Q3 results, that we lost about 46,000 vehicles in production in Q3. And there was a loss of production in January and February as well, largely because of the semiconductor shortage. And in March, also we will be losing production in some of our models. And that loss is going to be higher than what we saw in January and February. So I think the problem has, although got better, it is still there. And for some models, it exists in a larger way. And that's the reason why in some of our models, we have quite a short supply, which has resulted in the long waiting periods. For example, the Ertiga or the XL6, the Grand Vitara, partly the Brezza, and so on.
So in March, more than 46,000, basically. Mr. Srivastava, good morning.
Q3, yeah. Good morning.
Okay. But despite this, right, industry inventory levels are rising. I think you highlighted this elsewhere.
Yes.
Yes. For the first time after some time, they've risen to 3 or 4 week highs. So what's going on at the demand level, Mr. Srivastava?
I think, and I keep saying this, it's a tale of two cities. So one city is where you have a shortfall in terms of production and availability, where you see longer waiting periods, very little of discounting or sales promotion, and some of the models I mentioned already, and this applies across most OEMs. The other cities where you have plenty of supply and which is witnessing a higher discount levels. And that is why what we see most manufacturers, they would try to push those models where the supply is in abundance. And that is also one of the reasons why the stock in the industry had built up from about 118,000 at the beginning of February to almost 220,000 by the end of February, which is a 3 weeks sort of stock. So I think that is the situation. The semiconductor supply issues now.
Mr. Srivastava, could you tell us what's the inventory level for Maruti? Are you primarily in City 1 or City 2?
So we are like our inventory level end of Feb was about 95,000 or so, which is still about 2.5 weeks of inventory.
Okay. So, Mr. Srivastava, looking into the start of the next financial year, The way things are playing out, higher interest rates, talk of, perhaps a global slowdown, talk of poor monsoons in India. I mean, all the macro news pieces are pretty negative. Do you see that playing through the sentiment? What's, let's say, the monthly run rate that you would realistically assume for the coming months as we step into the new year?
So if we talk of the current year, 22-23 financial year, I think the industry should end, the passenger vehicle industry should end at around 3.88 million. That would be roughly a growth of about 26% over last year's figure of 3.07 million. And in the next year, the projection so far is a 5 to 7% growth. And probably what we are looking at is an industry of 4.05 to 4.1 million. However, as you said, fresh news keeps coming in every day. And we do observe that there is a little bit of a slowdown in terms of the booking momentum and also in the last week or so in terms of the inquiries. But
Mr. Srivastava, sorry, just to understand, you said 5 to 7% growth for FY24 at an industry-wide level, passenger vehicles.
Yes.
What would that projection be for Maruti for FY24?
So our projection for Maruti would be better than the industry. In other words, we should gain market share. That's because we have launched 3 vehicles during the course of the year in the fast-growing SUV segment, which was our weakness. So we do hope that our growth will be faster than the industry. And talking of the negatives, you did mention about the higher interest rates. There seems to be no pause in the repo rates as well, although it's possible that for some time you might see a pause. But inflation has been sticky. All this higher inflation leads to lower disposable income and actually it dampens the sentiment. So fundamentally, in terms of economics, whether it's the El Nino leading to lower agricultural output and therefore higher food inflation could be a possibility. But generally speaking, we have seen that in balance, I would say things are still positive because we do see the projection of the overall economic growth still around in that figure of 6 to 6.5%. If that is to be disturbed, or if something else happened on the geopolitical level, which pushes up commodity prices and the cost, or regulatory changes, etc., then you could see additional negatives in the overall scenario, in which case, of course, the equation and the projections will change.
Sure, got that. So for now, you're holding on to your 5 to 7% guidance for the industry. This is what you gave us last time as well. You're sticking with it, but you're saying that things could evolve and maybe you'd have to change that projection if things get worse with respect to El Nino and the monsoon. I take that point entirely. But just 2 quick questions, right? You mentioned also that there's a bit of slowdown in booking momentum and inquiries. Can you give us an idea of which segments are you seeing slowdown in? Is it only in the small car segment or are you looking at it in SUVs as well, in UVs as well? And would this mean higher discounting as companies try to push their inventory amidst higher competition and a slowdown?
Actually, for this is some sort of a it's a kind of it's a situation which is unique because when I say last week we saw a little slowdown in bookings as well as inquiries, they may not necessarily reflect in dampening of the wholesales or the retails because that comes with a lag. The reason why it comes with a lag is because in many models, as we just mentioned, we still have pending bookings. So an inquiry level, a fresh inquiry drop or a fresh booking drop may not immediately reflect in a wholesale or the retail coming down because you have consumers waiting with their bookings pending. So and definitely manufacturers would like to send them as many vehicles as possible. So you will see that effect of a slowdown in bookings and retail bookings and inquiries with a lag, and that lag could be between 30 to 40 days.
Okay, just one final question then. How many more launches can we expect from the Maruti stable, especially in the SUV segment over the next 1 year?
Yes, so we have launched the Fronx and the Jimny. As you know, they are going good numbers. Fronx bookings 15,000, 23,000 bookings for the Jimny so far. So it's going good. Yes, we are looking at that segment very aggressively. As I pointed out last time we had this discussion. We intend to be #1 SUV manufacturer in this financial year 23-24. 2024.
All right.
Going forward, our product plan will be very aggressive, and you can expect a few more launches from Maruti Suzuki.
All right. Good luck to you, and we look forward to speaking about that more. Thank you very much, Mr. Srivastava. Appreciate you joining in and speaking with us here on CNBC TV18. Thank you.
Thank you.
110 points on the Nifty, 16,861 is where we find ourselves. Now, Data Patterns is the next company we're speaking with quickly. They raised 500 crores via a QIP issuance. Proceeds of this will be used for funding working capital requirements, investment in product development and debt repayments. To get details on this and more, we are now joined by the management, which is joining us. Mr. Rangarajan is CMD of Data